I sure will. Thank you so much. I'm ready. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I just want you to know, Ashwini, I am trying to.
Okay, it's down below as well.
Okay.
Right next to the share screen, you'll just have to click that.
Did that do it? Oh, no, that took me away.
Yeah, it stopped the recording.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're going to the approval of the agenda.
Okay, I move that we approve the agenda.
Do I have a second? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second it. You can second it.
Okay, second. If it's moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Nunez, for
yes.
teleconference, we do need to do a roll call. I'm happy to do that for the time.
If you could, please.
So we'll start with Councilmember Fan, who's absent. Councilmember Montana.
Aye.
Councilmember Dominguez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nunez.
Aye.
And Mayor Tran is absent. So the motion does pass 3-0.
Thank you. And I noticed that I did skip over the roll call, Mary.
That's fine. Muted. I did call it. I did call the roll already.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to let you know in advance that there are no public comments incoming for this meeting.
Excellent. So let's go down to then item number 1.
Vice Mayor Nunez, we skipped over conflict of interest, so I can ask the question and just run through this quickly. I'd ask the mayor and vice mayor in this instance, and each council member whether he or she has any personal or financial conflict of interest related to any of the items on the special meeting agenda. And we'll start at the end. Councilmember Fan, absent. Councilmember Montana?
No, none.
Councilmember Dominguez?
None.
Vice Mayor Nunez?
None.
And Mayor Tran is still absent. So let the record reflect that 3 council members present indicating no. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go to agenda item number 1. Received the report on the June 13th, 2020 opening of the Bay Area BART at the Milpitas Transit Center. Ashwini?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. Given the upcoming opening of BART on June 13th, we wanted to provide an update to the council on what staff has been doing, and then also have the opportunity for a representative from VTA to provide you with some additional information, and then the VTA representative as well as staff from various departments is available for questions. So I'd like to introduce and welcome Bernice Alanis from VTA. And she has a brief presentation for you. So thank you, Bernice, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Vice Mayor and the council members. I'm excited to present the status of the VTA's BART Silicon Valley Various Extension Project. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So I wanted to just briefly go over the unprecedented partnership between VTA and BART. So there is a little bit of clarity on the relationship and what the roles will be now that VTA has completed construction and BART will be operating the service. So VTA funded the projects, which include the Milpitas Transit Center and BART Station. We did all the contracting and procurement, and we constructed it to BART facility standards, and VTA will own the infrastructure. During that process, BART provided us technical assistance. They are in charge of the operations of the system. They are in charge of maintaining the systems, and then they plan and deliver the service. So those are the roles, and these roles in the partnership are guided by a comprehensive agreement that was established back in 2001 when we first started the relationship. And then we just executed the operations and maintenance agreement, which guides how the operations and maintenance are paid for and that VTA reimburses BART for those costs. Next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. One of the features for the new Milpitas Transit Center is the parking facilities. We have both the parking garage and we have surface parking. As you can see, there's about 1,600 spaces in total. You can pay for that parking various ways. You can pay for it. There is an app. You can do the Passport app. There's online at vta.org/parking and on-site pay stations. This is new. VTA has not previously had paid for parking programs at its parking facilities at our park and ride lots, but this is, BART has historically had pay for parking. You can pay on a daily basis $3, monthly $50, or if you're going to be there monthly, means you park every day and you leave. The long term for $7 is when you leave it overnight, it's $7 per day. That will start and begin. You can go on as soon as the 11th and register if you will be using the facilities, and then pay for your parking and have your parking account all set up. It's based on a license plate recognition. So you do need to enter your license plate, and that's how we track and reference back if the fees have been paid for the daily parking. Next slide, please. I wanted to share with you the features of the Milpitas Transit Center. It is, in addition to the Milpitas BART station, it is a transit center. And for VTA, this is a major transit hub because it connects to our light rail system via the pedestrian bridge that you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, going from the BART station to the VTA light rail system. You can see the parking structure in the center. That is the parking garage. The BART station, the access to the station and the fare gates is at street level, and then passengers will go a level down to enter the platform. That is, the system is in a trench, is it trenched underneath Montague Expressway. As you know, we in the future have the pedestrian bridge that goes across Montague. The latest update I got on that is that these structures are being prepared, and there is a anticipated street closure sometime around the July 10th timeframe. I believe the outreach staff from VTA has been working really closely with the community to keep them abreast of all of the recent activities related to when they will drop that final structure in and be closing Montague Expressway, and will issue all of the detours and traffic advisories. We do have actually space for retail at the site, and plans, as you see the orange circle kind of center left, that is where we have space for food trucks and to do like community types events there with food trucks. Next slide, please. So current activities for the project is BART just put out their new system app, which is really exciting because, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, Milpitas is now on the map. On the BART system app. So that is really exciting. You know, the city is on the map, and both the orange and green lines will serve the Milpitas station with trains. They're not running their normal schedule. So right now they're doing the testing schedule, which they're running the trains every 15 minutes. Right now, because of COVID, there is a more infrequent service, and the trains are basically coming every half hour when we open for service. So they're now testing the trains on the run and just doing all of what they call pre-revenue operations, just making sure they have all the times down, all the operators are being trained, and then they'll be ready for the passenger service slated for June 13th, just a few days away. Next slide, please. So in our preparations, as I just announced, we will be opening both the Milpitas and Berryessa stations for passenger service on June 13th. The first northbound train leaves the Berryessa station and will get to the Milpitas station at approximately 7:59. So if anyone wanted to travel from the Milpitas station and take that first train leaving there headed north, that would be about 7:59 a.m. on that Saturday morning. We are going to be loading the ticket vending machines with limited commemorative clipper cards, and I might be able to have some more specific information once they load them where those clipper cards might be. They have a nice graphic of the Milpitas Transit Center. It's very nice. Due to COVID-19, we had some very initially exciting plans to do a community event, but we will not be able to do a public celebration at this time due to COVID-19. We are hoping that in the not too distant future, when we can have gatherings of larger crowds, that we'll be able to do some kind of community recognition and celebration, and really thank the community for working with us for the last several years of construction, and really being so supportive of this project all through. It was so exciting to always see that this was voted one of the most exciting things in the town of Milpitas. We do, the parking garages, as I stated, will be open, and we have a whole section on everything you want to know about this station on the vta.org/BART. So it shows you how to do a trip plan, how to access all the information, the features of the station. What I didn't mention in the parking garages, there's space for electrical vehicle charging, there's bikeways, there's bike storage lockers. So really this section on the website tells you everything you need to know about how to use this new service and enjoy the amenities at the station. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I believe this is my last slide, if you want to advance it. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, Rich, the mayor's here.
How's everybody doing? I appreciate the presentation. I caught half of it here as I just got home from my duty with the National Guard, so I appreciate everybody's understanding. I want to thank the Vice Mayor and our city manager for having my back, and that means a lot to me, so I appreciate it. We will go to the virtual hands, and first up here, Councilmember Montano.
Well, welcome back, Mayor, and hope you had a good day. So the questions I have are, you mentioned that on July 10th, there will be street closures. So will the street Montague still be open? That's you're talking about for the bridge, or do they have to be detoured somewhere else?
It is my understanding, I'm just going to check my notes here, that on that day it will require a full street closure because of safety when they actually drop that bridge in. I know that the VTA community outreach team that's working on that has been notifying the community and businesses on when that day will be and what the street detours will be. But yes, I believe it takes a full closure of Montague Expressway.
Oh, full closure. Okay.
It says they've been sharing the lane closure and project information on ongoing basis with the surrounding area. They've been working with the city staff, Milpitas Police and Fire. So the plan is, yes, they're going to hoist the truss the weekend of July 10th, which will shut down Montague Expressway all the way across. There is a detailed traffic control plan, and VTA buses will also be rerouted.
Okay, so you mentioned that'll be when the street will be closed, but when will the pedestrians actually be able to cross the bridge?
I will have to get back to you on the exact opening. I imagine it will be a short time after that, because they have to hoist the bridge in and then make all the connections. I'm not sure of the exact opening use date, but I will check that and get back to the council and give the planned opening date.
Okay, and do you know anything about the artwork or the facade of the bridge?
That's actually being painted right now, as I understand it, and then that art will be applied. So that's what they're working on right now. They actually have the bridge pieces. They're on site, I believe, and they are painting and applying the aesthetics elements to the bridge right now.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned about clip cards. So are you going to be able to give each council member a commemorative clip card?
Commemorative clipper card? I can see what I can do about that. Yes, I'm sure we can do something like that. Yes. Okay, great. They're very nice. I'll make sure I get you the Milpitas ones.
Okay, we're gonna hold you to that now.
Okay, I got it.
And then the other one,
it'll be we do have a plan for distribution of those too, in addition to purchase, but I'll make sure that we get it to the council members.
That's great. And then food trucks, will we be allocated, each city, well, not each city, but will we be allocated space there for food trucks? I mean, is it just going to be VTA that's going to be controlling that? Will the city be able to, in our business department, economic development?
I am sure I will have Ron Golem, our director of real estate, reach out to you because they are managing both the retail sites in the area for the food trucks. But I mean, that was part of the original plan, was to utilize that space for community activation. So I know that he would be working with you to arrange when those food trucks would be. And I'm sure there'll be just a process to go through real estate on when and how those food trucks might be out there. I was hoping, and we were hoping to have some of them out there for the opening, but due to the current situation, we're unable to do that.
Okay, and one last one. So we've been getting some, I guess the VTA has been doing their runs, the testing runs, and there's been a few complaints about noise on the north end on Dixon. Has that been resolved, or is that still ongoing about the noise?
My team has been, I lead the communications and outreach team. So we have been in receipt of both noise and vibration concerns in various spots, vibration more a little bit further south. We're tracking all that. And I can say that there are some initial operation related to the truing of the wheels on the track. So sometimes as they start the runs, it might be a little louder than it might eventually be. So they're monitoring it, and there's kind of a break-in period. I don't want to make it sound like there will be some dramatic change, but right now there is an initial break-in period where they are breaking in the tracks and the wheels are turning. They look for any anomalies if there might be anything. They did do extensive noise and vibration analysis as part of the environmental document. So if all, in building the project, all of those mitigations are in place. They do monitor it, and but all of the mitigations, the project was built to be within the allowable thresholds. It also is very apparent right now because there's not a lot of background ambient noise happening. Traffic's been really quiet, things are really quiet, and people are home much more because of COVID when they normally would be at work, and a lot of the ambient noise that's around those neighborhoods. So I think the BART train noise will be less noticeable overall once the community gets back to sorts of its normal functioning, but we will be monitoring all that. And we are sending out information and responding to each of the concerns. We're looking and we're tracking them by address and by location.
Okay, great. With I can understand that things need to be broken in. When you buy a brand new pair of shoes, it has to be broken in. So I get it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Montano. Next up, we have Vice Mayor Bob Nunez.
So thank you very much. And so don't have so much as questions as just want to thank both VTA and BART first. I know that that's a unique partnership, and to get us to where we're at now, at first seemed next to impossible, but at the very end, you rushed to get this done on time, on budget, and you're all to be commended. Because I'm not sure there were many that believed that June date when we first stated it, but you made it. And I believe that Mayor, your participation the last year on the board of VTA was beneficial for the city of Milpitas. So I just think that I'm looking forward to the day that I actually can get on BART and go back into San Francisco, because that's what I miss the most. Or those 2 or 3 times a month I would do that, myself and my wife. So I think you're all, you did an exceptional job. VTA, this is not something you do every day. BART it is. So I really want to commend you for all the hard work, the uniqueness of what you're doing, what you did and what you still have to do in San Jose, so we can make that complete loop. Just thank you very much for sticking to it. Milpitas is going to be better for it economically, and the citizens now have an ability to live here, go work really almost any place in the Bay, and then come back home. So I want to thank the mayor for his participation, VTA for all of your hard work. And Bart, if you're listening someplace, we really do appreciate you. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I appreciate your kind words, and I am happy that we have your leadership on the VTA board representing Milpitas, a staunch leadership for Milpitas. And yeah, I did have the honor, really, if I may say, to be on the board for some time. And I can say that it certainly is not easy, and it takes a lot of energy and time. And so I do want to acknowledge you and recognize you for your continued leadership there at the VTA board. And so thank you very much. Next up here, Councilmember Dominguez.
Thank you so much, Mayor. First and foremost, I'd like to thank VTA for the presentation. It definitely was very, very informational, super exciting. I also would like to echo, I cannot wait to get on the train and actually try to use it to get to work in San Jose. So I'm super excited about that. It definitely, you know, those VTA meetings are really long. So thank you both, Mayor and Vice Mayor, for the time. I know it's long meetings there. And I can't leave out Mr. Mayor Ron Gonzalez, who once upon a time when I was younger, I think I might have been 8, told me there's going to be a Bart coming through. And I definitely seen their vision come alive. It's pretty awesome. My question has to do with the economic development. I don't know if I know I'm also sitting on the VTA policy, and we've had some discussions, but not too much in depth of how the partnership will work with our Chamber of Commerce, or if there is going to be any opportunity for either pop-ups and minority business to set up around the VTA station that do belong to Milpitas, in order for us to start that partnership of economic development and really enhance some of the small businesses that we have here in town. So I'm not too sure if that's where that discussion would take place. And maybe if you could just guide me just so I could follow it, because I haven't really been able to find it anywhere.
I think I should connect you with Ron Golem, because he's really working on the retail aspects of the station, the economic development, and there is that corner triangle piece of property, I think, slated for some transit-oriented development as well. So I definitely will have him reach out to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I would really appreciate it. Thanks again for your work.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Dominguez. I'll look to my colleagues along the virtual dais if there's any additional virtual hands. We are certainly happy to have our guests from the VTA here tonight to kind of coordinate the June 13th opening. You know, quite an exciting time. It is June 2nd. I still can't believe we're in June, but I guess time flies when you're, you know, enjoying public service, even through the most challenging times. And I'm very excited. I guess I'll ask a question here with my time. I caught not the entirety of the presentation, but I did see the slides where we were looking at some commercial spaces there, and we've all taken a tour to the BART station as it was going through its development. What are the plans? I know here in Milpitas, we have some traffic plans that have been on a standstill because we're waiting on the BART to open. But my question really is with VTA or BART or both, what are the plans for those commercial spaces as we go forward, now that we know that the trains will be running soon? However, I do understand COVID and things. Is VTA or BART now going to look to get some tenants? What's the update there?
So yes, there right now there's some posters in those retail locations. I believe those spaces are unfinished right now, waiting. They are up for lease. So that is something, and I can once again have VTA's real estate, but they have been promoting those sites. I think that the retail business environment has been waiting and looking to see what would be the foot traffic and the ridership in that area. Pre-COVID, it was anticipated that that 10-mile Barrios extension would carry and provide around 23,000 trips. As you all know, the BART ridership right now due to COVID is significantly less than that. So everything we have was based on pre-COVID numbers, but that space is open for leasing opportunities. And you know, it could be, I think, I don't know the exact square footage, but I know that it could be something like a coffee shop, laundry service or something. They're not large square foot facilities, but it is definitely available for lease. And that was the intention, that this would become more than, it would become a spot for the community, a connection for transit, but also to really sort of activate that space and do things like food trucks and have retail services available. So you could maybe get some essential services, you know, go on your trip to work if you're working up on the east side of the bay, to the north, come back, pick up your dry cleaning and maybe, you know, your coffee or something. So that is the intent with that retail space.
Okay, great. And I'm sure I can always reach out to the Vice Mayor and VTA if I want any further details on that. I guess a last question there. I've been keeping a watchful eye on all the Milpitas station affairs and so. Another question I have is, my last one here is, when those tenants do come into Milpitas eventually soon, they will be checking in with our city of Milpitas for business licenses. Is that going to be the
I mean, it's in the city of Milpitas, I would imagine. It's on VTA property. So, but I see Steve giving me the thumbs up. So yeah, I don't believe we have jurisdictional authority over that. So.
Okay, great. So if we have sales tax here in town, we may benefit from those tenants then, right? Okay, I see a nod. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And again, I'll check in with the Vice Mayor, and I know he'll march back to VTA down at the county building, so I'll check in with him.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to have our real estate director provide some information on the specifics of leasing that space and what any of the implications would be on activating that space.
Awesome. We're excited here in Milpitas. I'll tell you what, the residents, you know, when these great businesses come in, you know, we're going to be excited about it. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting station, not just the train, but the retail as well. And so I appreciate your time here. Next up, Councilmember Montano.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. Just one more last question. Well, actually, one comment, and that's about the Clipper cards. So that would be great that in the future our city will be able to give those Clipper cards or have some type of program, Clipper card program for our employees. And then the other one is public safety. I know that the sheriffs, BART police, and Milpitas police, which one? I haven't heard the stats. We were applying for a grant from the county, and who will have jurisdiction over that, the BART. So I'm not sure. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Sure. So currently VTA contracts with the Sheriff's Department to provide safety security services for VTA's transit system. That will continue. So that would cover the VTA transit system and VTA facilities. BART, the BART police basically covers a jurisdiction within the fare gates, so within the BART facilities that are on site. Because, you know, in addition to the BART station, we do have a VTA transit center. So the Sheriff's Department with their, they provide supplemental safety and security services and beyond to what the jurisdictional authority is in services. In addition to the city of Milpitas, VTA also contracts with private security. So between the city of Milpitas, the supplemental safety and security services provided by the Sheriff's Department, the BART Police, and the private security, there will be a presence 24/7 between all four of those entities at the Milpitas station.
And what role does Milpitas Police play in that? I didn't hear you mention them.
So
Sheriff's, BART Police, and private security.
So, and Milpitas Police, because it's in the town of Milpitas. So that's they have, all of those safety entities will coordinate together.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we do have our police chief here with us. If anyone has any questions as to how we're going to proceed. And I know that we will have agenda items and possibly even meetings going forward as we continue to grow with the Milpitas BART station. I want to mention one thing. I know I've been reading a lot in the news about the extension, and every time I read it, and I brought this up before when I was on the VTA, all in the news, and I think a lot of the press I see, they call it the Berryessa San Jose extension. And if there's any way we can include Milpitas with kind of the press releases or press conferences, I just want to make sure that folks know that there's two destinations on the extension. I think it's really important for our city and the things that we can offer when folks take a friendly step off the train. And I didn't see that when the big news came out for the release date. So I kindly ask that we can have two communities represented as the big news spreads across our region.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Definitely, and I do want to just share that we are working on a feature just as we open up these stations, and Milpitas and the development around the station will be part of that feature. So definitely noted, and we'll make sure. I think part of that is unfortunately due to what they named the project originally, because they named it at the end station at Berryessa, but I will make sure in our communications as we prepare and do blogs for the opening that we make sure that we equally mention the Milpitas station. And that is our main transit hub there connecting to light rail.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Means a lot. Okay, great. Well, I want to check in with my colleagues once again. If there's any virtual raised hands, staff, these agenda items, and really having the opportunity to have our guests and visitors here, even virtually, we truly cherish your time. And so if even staff has anything, I do want to open up the conversation, but if not, I will go to our city manager, Steve McHarris.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. I just heard the word staff, so I thought I should weigh in a little bit. So thank you, Bernice and VTA and anybody from BART listening. From the staff perspective, we're working very closely in the area of transit-oriented development. As you know, with all the units we've built and the community we've built out in and around that BART station, as well as the existing Great Mall with the retail opportunities and entertainment opportunities, but further, the staff with the City Council, we are working together and our Planning Commission on further planning enhancements and land use around that area to make it certainly much more of a transit-oriented development, and this would enhance ridership as well as reduce vehicle miles traveled in and around our area and region. So just wanted to point that out. Thanks. I think it's been a good partnership, and it looks to me like it's going to continue to be as we continue to do our planning in that area.
Awesome. Great. Well, this is just a step in many years of hard work from all parties involved, and it's a great blessing for us to be a part of the process at this stage in this month. And we look forward to continuing to support each other to ensure that the riders in our community have the best experience. If there's no further comment, I want to thank our guest from VTA for joining us on this lovely Tuesday, and we wish you a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I just do want to thank both all the council and all the staff and the community, because they've really been a pleasure to work with through all this. It's been exciting. So I'm happy to serve, and thanks for all your cooperative efforts and support.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Well, we're going to keep our meeting going here. You're more than welcome to stay with us. But if you must go, we totally understand.
Right,
Dinner time is approaching. So, all right, moving on to agenda item number 2. Let's receive an update on the status of COVID-19 testing in Milpitas and provide direction to staff on the county's fixed testing site and mobile testing. And we'll go to our staff. I see here on the agenda our battalion chief, Jeff Boone.
Back again. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So here's, I'm here to present the update on both the mobile and the fixed COVID-19 testing sites in the city. Next slide, please. So as you may have already heard, we moved the fixed testing site from the sports center to the library parking garage. That started yesterday morning, and we're off to a great start. Next slide, please. So the location located directly across the street from the Valley Health Center in Milpitas on Main Street reduces logistical needs of the testing nurses as well as city staff, and also provides shelter and additional security. I know the nurses today and probably tomorrow and the next day with the heat are very grateful for the opportunity to work in this parking garage rather than standing on the hot asphalt in the parking lot at the sports center. So lots of advantages to being relocated. The traffic pattern has worked out quite well. Cars enter off of Main Street through the city-owned parking lot under the Calaveras overpass and travel down Windsor into the parking garage directly through the parking garage, and then they exit at Weller. The other big advantage is the parking garage locks down every night, so we don't have to pick everything up, take it inside, and then set it up again the next day. In addition to the relocation, the county significantly increased the volume of tests to over 100 per day, and they've increased the hours from half days Monday through Friday to full days 7 days per week. Next slide, please. In addition to that, the criteria for testing eligibility has been relaxed. No appointment is necessary. And finally, patients do not need to be Valley Health members. They will test anybody. They encourage appointments, but they will take walk-up and drive-up tests. The big advantage for the city in Milpitas is the new model should result in additional benefit for Milpitas residents, with more residents being eligible to be tested and therefore being tested daily at the fixed testing location. I can tell you that they are not collecting that demographic data, so I cannot substantiate that, but the common sense tells me that that's going to be the case with it being located there. City staff's working with the testing site administrators and identified continued needs of the fixed testing site. These include staffing for intake and traffic control devices, which can be left in place, and those have been provided by Public Works, and the use of miscellaneous city tables and chairs, as well as the fire department to provide the decontamination at the end of each day. Next slide, please. So the specific ask from the county requires funding approval and includes use of staff assistance at a cost of $550 per day. Part-time recreation and community services staff will be used to fill this need at a total cost for staffing through August 7th of $25,000. And the use of the part-time staff does create the benefit that it allows us to apply for Fema reimbursement for costs up to 95%. And next slide. And the mobile testing site, there's our ambulance. Day number 1, set up in the front parking lot at Fire Station 1. Next slide, please. The mobile testing unit was placed into service on Wednesday, May 27th, and testing done there in the parking lot at Fire Station 1. The initial 2-week testing period is being used as a pilot to allow the process to develop in an effort to ensure success. To date, not including today, we've tested 181 people, including 4 residential care facilities on site. All the individuals so far that we have tested negative. In addition to the fire stations and the on-site visits for the residential care facilities, the testing sites have been set up at various city parks. Next slide, please. Thursday and Friday this week, we will be testing at 2 of the larger senior mobile home facilities in the city. And according to the demographic data collected so far, because we are collecting that data, 90% of the people tested so far have been Milpitas residents or work in the city of Milpitas. And our future goals, of course, include continued focus on vulnerable populations through partnerships with community organizations and facilities and essential workers returning to work. Next slide, please. So during the pilot period, our messaging to the general public has been minimal to avoid overcrowding. After the pilot period ends, the testing site locations will be posted at least 1 week in advance on the city's website and through social media. The testing unit will continue to accept walk-up patients, but appointments will be encouraged. And testing of the unhoused population continues to be a priority. Staff is working with care and shelter testing units in the County Emergency Operations Center to coordinate this effort. Next slide. So staff recommends funding to the mobile testing unit through August 7th with a report to council on August 14th. And the cost is estimated to be $65,000 additional, in addition to the $75,000 that was already authorized. Our testing did come in a little bit, our cost did come in a little bit under what we initially estimated. So the total costs for the mobile testing unit from May 7th or 27th through August 7 are estimated at $140,000, with we anticipate much of that cost being reimbursed to the city. Next slide, please. So efforts to increase the amount of testing and access to testing in Milpitas have been ongoing and successful, with over 200 people per day now being tested at the fixed and mobile units combined, with a majority of those tested being Milpitas residents or employed in the city. The targeted testing of vulnerable populations using the mobile testing concept has been well received in the community, as well as used as a model by the testing unit in the County Emergency Operations Center. Continued support from council will allow for enhanced safety and an efficient reopening of the city. Next slide, please. So the recommendations include receiving this update regarding the status of COVID-19 testing in Milpitas, to provide direction on expanded hours and additional staffing costs in the amount of $25,000 at the county's fixed testing site through August 7, and to approve continuing mobile testing and additional staff costs of $65,000 through August 7, and provide direction to staff on additional considerations related to mobile testing. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much, Battalion Chief. Really pleased to see some of the performance measures from both the county and our city of Milpitas. I have a curiosity as to how many people are being tested over at the county. I know there's 2 parts, and so the first part's the county. Do we know how many people are Milpitas, or the county side at Milpitas is testing? Do we have that on a daily basis?
They don't provide a daily status update, but I can reach out to the nurse manager and get updates if you want them. No problem. I do know they're testing about 100 a day, give or take, right now.
So that sounds pretty effective if we're going to go forward 550 a day. I think that makes sense. And so that leads me to ask about the Fema reimbursement. Is that a guaranteed 95% reimbursement? How certain are we?
So I'm going to defer to Walter if he's on to answer that question. I know he had a meeting with FEMA on Friday.
Oh, okay, huge. Okay, yes.
Good afternoon, Walter Rossman, Finance Director. So FEMA reimburses at 75% for sure, but they do say in the literature, and the FEMA representative, we weren't able to talk that detailed, I only had 15 minutes with her, that they are reimbursed up to 90% if they deem it eligible. And then there's a 5% management cost. So it could be 95, but I think I would rather stick to 75% plus management cost at this time.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Isn't it great we're on Zoom? You know, staff doesn't need to walk up to the podium back and forth. It only takes a second to get an answer, so I appreciate that. And then, yeah, I think, you know, with kind of those considerations for the county and kind of getting reimbursed, that's good. And I'm very, very happy with what our fire department's doing with the mobile testing. Just to know that, you know, you safely went to, our team safely went to the residential homes, that means a lot. That means everything. And our community really appreciates that, I know for sure. So with everything that's going on in our nation and all the protests gathering, it's more inevitable now that we will look to probably a second wave of COVID-19, and we will be prepared, and I will be supporting the two recommendations. And I hope that we will find an answer to the pandemic. And I know testing is really the key to getting towards the answer. So just thinking ahead to what this agenda item means to our community going forward here in the summertime. Okay, next up here with the virtual hand, Councilmember Montano.
Thank you, Mayor Trent. So, question, Jeffrey. I'm glad to hear that there's a cost recovery of 75 or 95%, and that's a guaranteed from FEMA. One of those numbers, but I'm glad to hear that it's guaranteed. The question I'm asking you is duplication of services. How do we? How many times can a person get tested? I mean, how do you control whether one person doesn't go every day? So I like the mayor's question about how many, if the county keeps that data, and so do we keep that data as well? If a certain individual is being tested every day, whereas they might take away the opportunity for someone else, because you know it costs money to do a test. So how do you disaggregate the data to where we are not duplicating services to the point where it's being abused?
Sure. So the lab provides the report on a daily basis of everyone that's been tested. The quality controls that are naturally built into the process would one be the insurance reimbursement. IGenics would then flag people who are repeat customers on a regular basis.
Okay.
In addition to that, I would think it's quite an unpleasant experience. I don't know that most people would want to get it done every day.
Okay, okay, you're right. I didn't factor that in. Okay.
Yeah.
But some people do though, because I've heard
Sure.
people that they've gone several times to get tested. So.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
It doesn't cost us anything.
Okay. So thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Montano. And yeah, we, you know, we got to think deep into what's happening there on the ground. Appreciate the input. Next up here, Vice Mayor Nunez.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get the screen down. I'll leave that alone for now. So I'm really supportive of the recommendations. how much have we spent to date, and then how much including this? How much is the total?
Just on the testing, or on the whole COVID response from the beginning?
In the COVID response towards the testing, so the training and everything else. How much, if we were going to ask for reimbursement from FEMA for the testing, everything that we would put into that request, what would it total, including this part here?
Yeah, the training was actually fairly minimal. Staff time was spent only on duty time, so that wouldn't actually be eligible for reimbursement.
Okay.
Staff currently right now, they're on overtime, and I'm gonna have to pull out my calculator. I haven't tracked the exact costs right up until now. So, but I'm gonna guess, in addition to our personal protective equipment that we purchased, meals, training, and staff time, we're probably at around $16,000.
So would we add the $16,000 to the amounts, to the 25,000 here? So I'm looking for like an overall amount.
Sure. So that's a good question. 25,000 is for the recreation and community services part-time staff that will be at the fixed testing site.
Mm-hmm.
Only. And was that what you were referring to, or are you referring to the mobile site as well?
Mobile site. So when I'm trying, maybe I'm asking the question, let me ask it differently. I know that we are going to put in to FEMA for the cost recovery. We're thinking that we're going to get about 75%. Say we got 0.
Mm-hmm.
What would the cost be to the city? I'm supportive of it regardless. I'm just trying to figure out what would the cost be to us if we didn't get reimbursed.
Sure. I believe the number we came up with was about $165,000. That would include staff time for the fixed site at the library, as well as the mobile testing. Okay. And that does not include the costs to date for the sports center, which for a while was staffed mostly with engineering people who were available to work that site.
How much was that?
I don't believe that is reimbursable, because I think that Walter can clarify that it was regular staff hours and may not qualify for reimbursement, but we didn't pay any overtime there.
Yeah,
that is correct.
So at 165,000, and I go back to, it is testing residents of, hopefully mostly of Milpitas, but really of the county, or anybody that comes in. It is still dollars well spent, and it would be dollars that we would be able to find within our budget, and I would look to the city manager and Walter to say that, agree with that. But I think going forward, we need to do what we need to do to make sure that persons are safe. So I'm supportive of the recommendation. I'm not sure we can say we guarantee that FEMA is going to reimburse us as long as we submit, because I know that other agencies are having difficulty just trying to figure out what FEMA will reimburse. But at this point, 165,000, if we've submitted have we submitted anything yet for this and been reimbursed?
So I can speak to this, Vice Mayor. So the call with FEMA on last week on Friday was exactly on how we should structure our requests for reimbursements, how we should structure our costs, which we're accumulating. And we were on the right track. So I was very pleased with that without knowing what FEMA really wants. Because FEMA has been changing even their forms, how to submit information to them over the last 6 weeks. So no, we have not yet, but we're going to have with Cal OES, we have an assigned person there, a call this week. And then as soon as we get more information, we code our expenditures in the correct way, which will take some time. We'll start requests for reimbursement.
Well, I'm glad you're going through all those steps. So the answer really is no, we haven't. But I still believe that it's the right thing to do. So I'm supportive of the recommendation. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Nunez. I support you with that, and I agree with you. Well said from that perspective, absolutely. Next up, Council Member Fan.
Yes, thank you for all your work on this. I'm certainly supportive of the staff recommendation. I guess my plans are ruined. I was planning on getting tested every day, but someone caught on to that. So in terms of the numbers, aside from the financials and whatnot, is there data on any false negatives or false positives that are coming back? Talking about the margin of error on the testing.
So the margin of error with the lab should be consistent with the margin of error with most labs that are reputable nationwide. False positives, my understanding, the science is that there are no false positives, but false negatives are definitely a possibility, especially now since we are testing asymptomatic people. So we do the nasal swab test, and it actually goes fairly deep into the nasal cavity. That does reduce the false negatives. There is a test that the County Emergency Operations Center has asked us to consider using instead, which is actually a self-administered test where you take the swab and just swab it on the outer portion of your nose. That I understand is not quite as accurate. I spoke with the director of epidemiology at Stanford last week, and she gave us some information on that test and why she doesn't necessarily recommend it, especially in asymptomatic people. So I can't give you an exact number, but I can tell you it's going to be consistent with what labs are experiencing throughout the country.
Thank you. And in terms of testing our own employees, are they required to be tested? Have they been tested? And how do the numbers look for our employees?
So for the most part, we aren't testing our employees. Most of our employees haven't returned to work at this time, and we're not sure when that's going to happen. There are a couple of other mitigating factors that may make that complicated. One is that Kaiser will not let us test Kaiser patients, and most of the employees in the city, I would say, I don't know, maybe Liz could answer this. I think the majority of city employees are probably Kaiser patients. So that's going to make it challenging for us. I know that Kaiser has been, the county public health officers in 9 counties in the Bay Area reached out to Kaiser recently with a fairly strongly worded letter admonishing them for their testing limitations at this time.
Thank you for that information. I'll be sure to communicate that with the Kaiser representative because we do want to make sure that folks who are covered by Kaiser are getting that testing, especially if they are city employees. It should be for everybody, but certainly for city employees. Okay, and as far as we know, do we know if our employees have gotten COVID? Is that something that is available to us? And is there anything that we can do to support them if they have actually gotten COVID?
I think most of that information would be protected medical information. And if they reached out for assistance, I'm sure we would provide them assistance, but they're not under any obligation to share that with us.
Certainly. Well, I just want to make sure that we are helpful to our workers in this time of need, even if they aren't working right now, even if they catch it while sheltering in place for whatever reason, whatever the circumstances are, this is something that we should be very proactively addressing, and which I know we are. So thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Fan. Next up, we have Councilmember Dominguez.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just first wanted to say thank you so much for the mobile, the staff that is providing that help to make sure that we have mobile testing. I do encourage everyone to get tested every 14 days. I do work for the city of San Jose, as many of you know, and that is highly encouraged. Kaiser is super easy, it's fast, and definitely please do not hold up, especially if you're out in our community, because it's really, really important for all of us to get tested. So definitely want to encourage the testing at least every 14 days if you're around the public. Definitely very uncomfortable, so I agree. I wouldn't do it every day. It's really uncomfortable, but it doesn't hurt. My question goes with once we move into the phase where we're going to, because the mobile unit is going to be going to our unhoused spots. I would just like some information and clarification. So going back on the question of Councilmember Anthony Fanny, I also think it's important to think of our unhoused when, just like if employees would test positive, what would we do? I guess my question now is, what if an unhoused individual in Milpitas test is positive? What would we do?
So that's a really good question. We had a meeting, obviously a virtual meeting, with the care and shelter people in the County Emergency Operations Center. I think it was last week, to discuss that matter. And we're still navigating the process with the county. We have to work in close coordination with them because there are unique challenges with the unhoused population. So I can't give you a firm answer. I can tell you that we are coordinating with the Emergency Operations Center in the county, and it is still a priority for us, and we will continue to endeavor to get that done. And hopefully we can pass along some informational memos as it develops more, if that's okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of the work that you guys are doing. So please stay safe out there.
You bet. And I think it's also, I do want to recognize, just real quick, I want to take this opportunity. I appreciate the support, but I definitely, and Fire definitely could not have done it without a tremendous amount of support from a lot of the other key players in the city. IS helped us. Renee has been a key player for sure. Tony and Da and Public Works, engineering. We had a lot of help.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I want to keep the discussion going. Battalion Chief, I want to ask, it's good to see the number of tests being performed and our agreement with IGenX here in town, proud agreement. How many, if you can refresh my memory here, if I may, how many tests have we agreed to with IGenX total?
We don't have a set number of tests. It's basically as many as we can do. As the process has developed over the last week and a half, we are working to streamline the intake and insurance processing. That's what is our big holdup. The actual test administration only takes probably 15 to 20 seconds, but it takes about 5 minutes per person to complete all the paperwork. And what we're going to try and do is coordinate with IGenX to get a lot of that moved online. Not everybody has online access. We'll still be able to do the paper intake the old-fashioned way, so to speak. But if we can get even half of the people that show up with their paperwork already done because they've done it online, we could streamline the process significantly and probably increase our testing capacity by 100 a day, which would take us to 200 per day.
That's a good idea.
Okay, great. Well, whenever we get to the point where the council needs to make another decision based on our agreement with IGenX, I'd love to have that conversation. I know we're not having that tonight, right? So,
right.
whenever that we have that discussion, I would love to take a look at what we've paid for through our agreement with IGenX. I think that'd be a great moment to review. Now, next up here, we have Vice Mayor Bob Nunez. And then we'll go for the microphone here. Yes. Yes.
There. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I sounded great on this end. I apologize, but if we're ready for a motion, I'd like to move to receive the report and to provide direction for the expanded hours, additional staff of up to 25,000 for the county fixed testing, and the mobile testing of 65,000 through August 7th for both.
Second.
We got a motion by Vice Mayor. Wait, let me take a moment. I'm sorry, this is on me here. We do have public comment.
Okay.
So I like it when I stop myself.
Thank you, Mayor.
So are you asking, Mayor, are you asking for raised hands or just to throw it out there?
Well, I'm just going down the
Okay.
the rows here in the one column we all see, I believe. So, but I do see your hand, and we were going to make sure we get to all the hands. But if I may, I do want to accomplish the public comment respectively.
Okay.
So, yes, Mary.
Thank you, Mayor. There is one public comment submitted, so I'll read that to you now. This is from Charles Schletzbaum, 1775 Millmont Drive. The comment is, are these sinus tests or antibody blood tests? Also, what time of day do the electric vehicle chargers become available in the library lot if access is blocked?
So to answer the first question, these are the nasal swab PCR tests. This is for active virus. We are not administering antibody tests at all at this time. IGenX does have the capability, the lab does, but those have not been authorized by the county at this time. To answer the second question, I can't speak for the library, but I do know that they are intending to use the other part of the first floor parking garage for their drive-up book distribution. And I don't think that the electric vehicle chargers, which will be right in that traffic flow path, will become available at all, as far as I know. But again, I can't speak for them. I'm not sure if they're going to make any special accommodations.
Thank you very much. And I encourage all members of the Milpitas community to give us a call. You can reach out to the library or the fire department, which I'm sure is greater hours in the library right now. You can send an email out to our city manager, Steve McHarris, or anybody on the council here. And we're here for you to follow up because things do change. And sometimes we answer things during the meeting that change the next day and vice versa and such. So I want to thank the public member for our community member for proposing that question, which really affects us all with electric vehicles. So thank you. I'm going to go down the virtual hands here. I know we got a motion in a second. I do want to get the virtual hands. Councilmember Dominguez.
I just want to clarify, I just put my hand up to second it. So I don't know if you're doing the hands to second or are you doing the yelling out for second?
That's a good way.
Yeah, I think
that was my question.
Yeah, I think for the motion, I think the verbal has been working very fine. So
Okay.
Awesome. I'll lower my hand then.
Yeah, but if folks really want the
no, either or, I just want to make sure we all.
If folks really want the motion and the second to be in the history books and such, I know, in the Milpitas history book, they'll see the motion and the second. If folks really want it, I'm sure our colleagues can oblige. Okay, so great. So we have a motion by Vice Mayor Nunez, we have a second by Councilmember Dominguez. All in favor of virtual roll call. Councilmember Fan.
Aye.
Councilmember Montano.
Aye.
Councilmember Dominguez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bob Nunez.
Aye.
And myself is an aye. The motion is carried for all the recommendations listed on our agenda this late afternoon. I want to thank our battalion chief and the whole Milpitas Fire Department Chief Sherrard, we see you too. And we wish everybody well and safe as we continue to provide the service to our residents. I want to go to Chief Sherrard since we have him here. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I just wanted to take this opportunity to actually add a little bit onto what Chief Malone said about staff and their participation in this endeavor. Both the fixed testing site and the mobile testing site have taken a tremendous amount of not only collaboration, but staff time. And it really wouldn't have been possible without the support of not only the city manager's office, but the council. I think our city should be very proud. We are the only city in Santa Clara County that has a mobile testing capability. So we're proud that we're leading the charge, and there's interest from other cities in the county to follow our lead. And in addition to that, we'll continue to collaborate with Santa Clara County to make sure that we're doing everything we can to provide the opportunity for people to be tested, and so we can get our city back open and operating in the most expeditious manner. So thank you for your support.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely a really proud public service moment here in Milpitas. Thank you for really emphasizing that we are leaders here in Santa Clara County. It means a lot through the hard work of our brave firefighters and fire department. So thank you so much. Okay, fantastic. Moving on, item number 3, we're going to keep this late afternoon and evening going here. We're going to have a great night. I know we got a lot of things to do. Item number 3, let's receive a report on lighting of Milpitas City Hall and celebrating Milpitas Unified School District graduations. And we are going to our Director of Recreation Services, Renee.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. All right, we'll jump into the next slide. Tonight, we're going to give you a brief report on City Hall lighting and celebrating our MUSD 2020 graduates. So annually, our Milpitas Unified School District celebrates graduates from its Milpitas Adult Education Program, Calaveras Hills High School, and Milpitas High School classes. This year's graduations were planned for June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, respectively. However, due to COVID-19, in-person graduations all over are either postponed or canceled. So in an effort to support our Milpitas graduates, we have created a variety of visual and virtual displays of graduate pride. Next slide. Next slide, there we go. So in support of our graduates, we would like to announce Milpitas Turn Your Tassel, which would start June 3rd, with City Hall being lit internally with the colors of each school on their planned graduation date. So on June 3rd, we would see blue and white for adult education graduates. On June 4th, we'd see red and black for our Calaveras Hills graduates. And on the 5th, we would see blue and gold for our Milpitas High School graduates. The lighting is actually inside of City Hall and is used with existing theater and event lighting for recreation community services. So you'll see on that photo, I had a great time with staff, my staff and public works staff, and we actually did a pre-lit of City Hall. That's our doors off of Calaveras Boulevard and the pond fountain right in front. Next slide. Turn Your Tassel would also include a popular social media photo frame as pictured. This would allow Milpitas residents, regardless of their school and even their grade, to celebrate the family's graduates by adding this frame to their Facebook photos using the hashtag Turn Your Tassel and or Milpitas Grads 2020. Next slide. Finally, city staff is or has created a movie credit-like video of all the graduate names by school, which would launch on the city's website, Recreation Virtual Community Center, and on all of our social media pages on their corresponding graduation day. And later in the month, we will be sharing videos that are recorded by the school district of their valedictorian and salutatorian speeches on all of our pages as well. Links to the city's online postings and celebrations would be shared with the school district and vice versa. So to make sure that as many Milpitas families are able to view and enjoy and celebrate the important life milestone online together as a community. Next slide. Staff would also like to take the time to let City Council know that we are currently accepting bids for the exterior lighting of City Hall for the 4th of July holiday. Those bids are due June 9th, and staff will be returning to City Council for approval on June 16th. That concludes the staff presentation, and I'm here for any questions.
Well, thank you so much, Renee. I'm certainly excited to see this item come back to our City Council. We see a lot of communities across our nation get creative with celebrating their youth, the future of their communities. And the seniors, among other grades, these are the future Milpitians, 18-year-olds, young people getting into the real world here in 2020 as they look to make decisions as adults. I am happy to see that we are making effort. And I think this is a really effective way to celebrate our young residents. With the interior lighting, I did notice the drapes there in the front of the building. Have we done a test to see how photos turn out? I mean, this is certainly a place for photos and memories to be created. You know, sometimes there's like, you know, flash off the glass, and you know, I want to make sure that the background here is one that is immaculate.
Yeah, very observant. So we do have black draping in front of those doorways to actually block and absorb any of the light from the building, and then beyond, because the set of doors behind it are glass, and then you have lighting from the Civic Center Plaza. So it makes sure that the light from the front is more brilliant. We did take a lot of fun pictures that night that I didn't want to post on the slides. So, but it seems to turn out really well. The reflection on the pond is beautiful. We will be doing some more testing, and if we need to make some corrections, we will throughout the week. But it seems to photograph really well, and a lot of the chrome and the metal detailing on the building lights up very beautifully, we found. So I think it's a good option.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. And really, the front of City Hall is a really special place to create these sorts of memories. So I appreciate your ongoing efforts with your department, your team as well. And another question I had to do with verbiage. Now, will there be any form of verbiage for the school or on those dates?
In regards to just like a messaging each day?
Or, you know, like maybe something in the background of the photo. You know, these days it's all about Instagram, right? And
yes. Yeah.
A lot of businesses even, they have these Instagram backgrounds, drapes and foliage. You know, you go to businesses, there's like catchy signs, you know, things that say like, you only live once, or who knows, right, whatever, you know. And so are we going to have any sort of verbiage as in the background? And I know we can work on it too. You know, congratulations, class of 2020.
We did talk about sort of signage or pinning in something on the draping. We're not sure if it would be lit enough, because without absorbing too much of your time and getting technical, all the lights, they're bottom lit. So they're kind of radiating up. So the language might get lost. It's one of the reasons why we added the Facebook frame, because it has the Turn Your Tassel and the Milpitas Graduates hashtag on it. So hopefully, I know Facebook isn't as cool for the young ones, it's more Instagram, but hopefully they'll get the hashtag to help push the message across.
Okay, great.
We can play with it. We can play with many different things.
But no, the frame is actually that's a solid idea. A lot of Instagram folks, young people, they use the frame, so great. I guess my only other really consideration is the dates for it. You know, that's pretty quick here. That's like tomorrow for this to happen. And I just am not sure that that's enough time for our families to tow their household through, you know, to the town center, really. You know, is there any way we could kind of push it a week?
We can leave the lighting up as long as the council would like us to. I have staff ready to push a button to launch the frame and all of the information this evening so that we can get the information out. But however, you know, the council wants us to leave it up, we can leave it up. It is really up to you guys. Yeah, we're willing to do whatever.
Yeah, thank you. That's really great to hear. And you know, I think we can even do it this week and next week. Kind of have 2 rounds of it. We understand families are, you know, there's a lot of really logistics to you know, move bodies. It takes you know, more time the more folks you have in your family. So that'd be great if we can extend it. You know, for a couple of weeks, and I think that would allow time for families to make their way. So fantastic. Next up here, we have Vice Mayor Bob Nunez.
Thank you. So first, I noticed that there's no cost any place, and so I don't want you to put any there. So you must be amazing, which I know is true. Number 2, I'll leave it to you and others that understand all this. I had the opportunity to drive by a high school today where youth were driving up to an outside sort of canopy. Somebody stuck their hand in with their head out, stuck in their diploma. A parent jumped out real quick, took a click, then they drove away. There was no way that was going to be something, if they remembered it was for the wrong reason in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
I think what you're creating is going to be something that they can actually remember with fondness in their heart, both themselves and their parents. And I think that's what was being asked of you. And you had all of what, 5 or 6 days to put it together, Renee? And you did it with no money. I keep coming back to that. So I have to say, there are reasons people talk about you with your ability to do anything with nothing, and you've done it again. I think the fact that you're able to do that with the adult learners who go to work, help their children with all of their schoolwork, probably go back to work again, and still have time to try to finish their studies to get whatever, their high school diploma, their GED, whatever it is. I'd hate to think them missing out on this special opportunity, and for me, that's just as important. So the fact that you're able to include them in there was very important. So Mayor, thank you for bringing up the idea, but Renee, your ability to allow this to still be a very special day for everyone and their families, to celebrate it with them is touching. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. Very special words there, Vice Mayor. Thank you. Next up, we have Councilmember Dominguez.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And I would just like to say thank you. I always tell people, I could tell those who have worked in Parks and Rec and summer camp because they're able to do something with nothing. And so thank you so much. I know your years here of service, I there's times I'm like, how does she even think of things? But thank you for being so resourceful, but most important for providing that memory for our kids, because I know as a mom, it's very hard, you know, the time is supposed to be a special time. And I echo the mayor, what I would suggest too is, and I'm sure you're already thinking of it, but right, like the day of graduation, those are the colors, and maybe we could assign a different week and then put that out there. That way we also have some more time with the display, because again, we're still in COVID-19 time, so we don't want a bunch of families the same day. And but I think that would be a very, very special memory for all of the high school students. And I cannot wait to turn my Facebook and Insta, and I'm now on Snap. I cannot wait to use that display for our families. So thank you so much for doing that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, right on, Councilmember Dominguez. I think you're right there about ensuring there's enough availability and time for all the families. And I know our high school has a large senior class, and so the sun sets a little later these days than maybe months and months ago. So I would even encourage us to keep the lighting up every week, those 3 nights for the next month, actually, 4 weeks in a row. It doesn't have to be every night, but to keep it up and to let every person that drives through Calaveras well, traffic's different these days, but you know, typically there's over 50,000 cars that drive through Calaveras and City Hall on a daily basis. I don't know what it is now, but I know that folks in town are still driving by to Safeway and to different shops. And so they'll see the light and they'll ask and they'll know and they'll find out why. It's because each person on this council, I believe in my heart, that is supporting really some of the most special people in town, young people. And so, yeah, if we can keep up the lights, you know, maybe even on the weekends, Saturday night, maybe not Sunday night. We don't want people out. I don't think anybody's going out there Sunday night, but yeah, you know, maybe the high school can have a couple nights just based off the logistics in terms of the equity part of it. We're just going off the total population of the students, and you know, maybe give the MHS a flex sort of 2 nights a week so that they can get out there appropriately and safely. It would be a good safety measure to extend the time. Thank you, Councilmember Dominguez. Actually, that's a very strong point. A great discussion. Next up, Councilmember Fan.
Yes, thank you. So a couple of questions. For the cost of this, is the school district gonna be sharing the cost with us, or is there a partial cost sharing? What does it look like on that end?
So there really is no extra cost. The lighting we had in our theater program. So we've put the lighting out and put up the backdrop structure. And then in the course of my staff's 8-hour day, they've put together the photo frame and the name scrolling, which are the 2 more time intensive. So there's no extra costs on top of what the city would normally expend, but we can add up the hours and just let you guys know later what that
I was just curious.
Looks like. Yeah, it actually was resources that we had already internally, so we're happy to be able to do that.
Well, that's good to know. When would it start?
Tomorrow. So tomorrow's the 3rd. So, well, tonight, actually, as soon as this item is over, I'm pushing send on a text message to my staff to launch the frame and everything. So, so it'll go out tonight, and then tomorrow morning, what will happen is there will be a link to the city's virtual community center and pages and subsequent pages. And then the Milpitas Adult Education name scroll will be available the Facebook frame will be available, and then the lights will go on tomorrow evening. When we did our test, it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock where you can actually see the lights go on, and then they would turn off around 2 a.m. And then the following day, it'll be Calaveras Hills, the same thing. It'll just repeat for the next 3 days. And then per the direction and the feedback tonight, we could assign the next few weeks to each school's color to allow safe drop-bys for photos. And then we'll be back at July 4th, and then the lighting will change then.
Oh, would the frames be only integrated with Facebook? Can I use it on like my MySpace?
I don't think you can use it on MySpace anymore. Your dial-up profile, maybe.
They did that. I would.
They gave me a free trial CD.
Does that still exist?
I don't think so. Maybe your TikTok video. But that's a really good question. I'd like to pretend I'm as savvy as some of my staff, but I will ask the question about what we can do with the frame and the image on Instagram. So maybe we can get it on both. Yeah.
So last question. Are we at all concerned that the extra lighting will attract unwanted crowds? Specifically, during these recent turn of events, in cases of vandalism and whatnot. If it happens, it happens. But is there a concern there, or will we be monitoring the area extra? Anything like that?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Staff did talk about that today. When we were setting up and testing last week, it was sort of a different social climate, but there were a number of people out walking and stopped by to enjoy, took a couple photos and left. The great part is there are still public works staff on and in the buildings until I believe 2 a.m. Tony can text me or up and if I'm wrong, but there is still some staff on site in the evenings to help monitor that. I also plan on doing, some stop-ins in the evenings just to see how the flow and if there's any congestion of people dropping by, any concerns for social distancing. So we'll keep an eye on it. I would hope not, but the reality is we might have some issues, but there are staff on site. So we're not, it's not a set it and forget it kind of a thing. We'll have people there to keep track of if there's any concerning behavior.
Thank you. Excellent work. This was really thoughtfully planned, and I'm excited to see what comes out of it. So, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Fan. Next up, with the virtual hand here, Councilmember Montano. And I ask members, my colleagues, if you can lower your virtual hands, that would assist the person to your left and right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tran. And thank you, Renee, for doing such a great job of thinking out of the box and saving cost. So I really appreciate you taking that other road of thinking about, okay, how can I save costs? So good job. So I serve on the city's school subcommittee along with Vice Mayor Nunez. And at the last meeting we had was last Friday. We discussed this item of how can we display the names. Well, actually, we wanted pictures at first, but the problem was we couldn't get because you have to have permission from the students to put their picture. So we decided to put names, which is really great. And so that's why the names are going to be scrolled. And also, for those of you that don't know, the lighting for adult ed, it's a different color. I think I don't recall what it is. And then Calaveras has another color, and then Milpitas High School has another color. So what we decided is to do one color, I think, for the day that they graduate, whatever day, like tomorrow, who graduates tomorrow? I think, is it Milpitas High School?
Milpitas adults. Milpitas
Okay, so-
adult ed.
So their color will be up, their colors will be up. And then at the next day, Calaveras Hills, and then the next day, Milpitas High School. So that's why we're using different colors. So with that, I'm asking, are we going to have signage? Because some people might not, some people might not know, have a clue about why the colors. So they might say, why are the different colors? So are we going to have some kind of signage like congratulations, Cal Hills, for that day in the front of City Hall? Because it makes sense. Because people will wonder, well, why the different colors? I mean, we know, but the public doesn't know. So it would be nice to have a signage out there that says, congratulations, adult ed, and then the next one, congratulations, Calaveras Hills, and so forth. And of course, July 4th will be red, white, and blue. We also spoke about not doing it too long. I think we said 2 weeks the max because the novelty will wear out. And so that was just another thought. But yeah, that's the whole reason. So I'm wondering if we could put some signage out there so that way it'll clarify it to the public what the lighting is all about.
Okay.
Thank you. And great job. Great job. Thank you.
We can add some signage either right inside or right at the doors that we can put out and bring in each evening. That shouldn't be a problem.
So, but people usually drive by. Is there a way you could put a signage outside, like you know how the yard signs, some kind of yard
ones, yeah.
Something. Yeah.
Well, we'll get creative and we'll figure out what we can put out in the front and let people know for vehicular traffic is what I'm hearing. You guys want some sort of sign.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good, just to let the public know. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Renee, this really happens because of you, and I do want to recognize that wholly. That we can provide you direction, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's making it happen, and we understand that it's always a challenge to put on an event, and so it's really a tremendous thanks to your work. I think we all really admire what you do, and we don't take it for granted, the recreation services aspect, but it's a lot of really strategy and planning and so many dynamics that go into social things, if I may. And so I do want to follow up with Councilor Montano. Yeah, it is a novelty. You brought up a really good point. And but I guess we'll have to decide as a council here how long we want to go for it. And so I guess 2 weeks, just to keep it a novelty. I want to throw that out there. 2 weeks. If you didn't get on the first chance, they got the second chance, right?
Yeah,
and to go out there.
Yep.
So that sounds good. And Councilor Montana, actually, you're right. I do go on social media sometimes, and I do see a lot of families out there with the huge congratulations signs in the yard. Each letter is like 3 feet high. I think that would be fantastic if we could put that on City Hall's lawn. It's really it's really the community's front yard. That patch of grass right there.
You got that right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw one. I know I have my hand raised. I wanted to throw an idea to Renee. Okay, you know how there's a sound wall right there in front of City Hall? That maybe you could use butcher paper and just write out, congratulations. It's something simple. It doesn't have to be. There's a little sound wall right there in front of City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just think about that. Maybe right there, just put butcher paper, something there. You don't have to order a banner or anything like that. So okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's getting fun. Now it's getting real fun, right? Well, I guess talking about it's fun, but actually doing it, you'll see how fun that is, right?
It's more fun.
More fun. Yeah. See, that's why you're the best. And I just want to throw out, maybe some brainstorming here. I know in the parking lot entrance, there's that digital sign we have that's in red. The one on Calaveras there.
It's not working.
You could put a message, just congratulations, graduates, Milpitas graduates, and just have it blink. you know, when people drive by, they can get that emotional experience of saying, hey, you know, the city put it up on that little sign there with the red digital lights. Congratulations, graduates, class of 2020. That'd be pretty cool.
Is that working yet? I think the staff said it was broken or something.
No, it's not working right now, but you could put butcher paper over it.
All right, there you go.
We'll get creative.
Steve's looking into that right now about getting that work fixed.
And my last brainstorm, I usually don't brainstorm during meetings.
I love the brainstorms.
I didn't write anything down, I'll admit, you know, but my last thing is, you know, yeah, privacy is key, getting photos from our students, right? And so Renee actually has created a huge, really effective way is the hashtag. Now, when I go to some of these professional conferences, they have a projector, and what you do is you post your picture and you put the hashtag. And so there's a live feed, because that's what hashtags are, right? They go to a feed with the hashtag. And so as soon as you post your post, the picture, maybe some words, you'll put the hashtag, and there's a live feed. Every time someone posts, it shows the person's hashtag with the post, and it's a circle, you know, kind of continuous feed. And maybe we could check with our information technology department, or is it information systems? It goes back and forth in my mind, but we could check with Mike, Lou, if we have a projector. I know we have that second floor patio there in the front. And if we could place a projector there that we have already, hopefully powerful, I can zoom across, no pun intended, zoom across to the facade of our city hall, and maybe it'll have the right contrast to show, and saturation to show the live hashtag feed. And that way it would really engage the graduates to not just, you know, utilize this special place during a special moment in their life, but to really engage in it, really be a part of it, you know. And folks can go home too, obviously, and see the feed, but that when, you know, just for them to show up and see that there's this live thing happening, that's super special. To show up and to see some video on the wall, that's, you know, that's super special in terms of the experience. And so, yeah, you know, if we can get a congratulations on the drapes, just like any of these graduation parties that are happening in Milpitas, year after year, you know, years past. One time, I think it was a year or two ago, Councilmember Fan and I, remember Anthony, when I reached out to you, I was like, yeah, let's go drop in on some parties, some high school graduation parties. So Councilmember Fan and I, actually a couple years ago, we were cruising together through town.
Were you crashing a party? I'm just
no, we were invited. We were invited to all the parties. Yeah. And so we hung out with all the family members, the older cousins, and the uncles, the aunties, the parents, and, you know, we went to a few parties. But, you know, every time we went to a party in all the neighborhoods that we went to, there's always like a congratulations on the wall. And so if we can get that on the drapes, and then the front yard of City Hall too, if I may, you know, just to make it real, and enhance, you know, any opportunity. And so those are just my recommendations I'd like to ask the council to consider. And I will pay for it if I have to. I just think, you know, I do want to keep the cost down, and I think maybe Renee's already gone above and beyond to do that. But I would love to see that, just so that when a family shows up, they can continue to have their faith in our city government, and knowing that we care, each and every single person on this dais. I think back to, and I'll conclude here, I think back to my senior year here. You know, I can remember Councilmember Montano as my keynote speaker, you know, and so I you know, we remember here in town. And I think that our seniors and our graduates will. Yeah. I think, you know, and what I'm trying to say is, this is a collective effort, 100%. And you know, I want every family, Milpitas family in town to know that each person here on the dais really gave their heart to their family. And I think that families and parents and really the senior children and all the children will always remember that. And they'll remember, you know, the people that gave their heart. So I appreciate that. I'm going to go down the line here with the virtual hands. Next up here, City Manager Stephen Karras.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And I wanted to say, yes, I did promise Councilmember Montano that we'd be working on that sign, that reader board sign. It's quite old. I don't know if it was put up in the 80s, but it reminds me of the 80s. It's very digital.
Yeah.
So we do have a contractor working on that with our building department. So
good.
You know, more to come. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, fantastic. Next up here, Vice Mayor Nunez. And then there's a couple other virtual hands too, but we're here with Vice Mayor Nunez.
Yeah, so I'm going to be quick, Renee. I would suggest you do is, as we continue to talk, slowly fade away your picture, or else we'll all have, yep, you're right. We're all going to have 7 or 8 additional things for you to do, and you'll never get any of it done. Remember, we started with saying you know how to invent something out of nothing. I don't have a clue at the last 20 minutes what any of them were talking about, because to me, I'm still dealing with my remote control with my TV. So
you sound like me.
yeah, I know. So pick the best of what you heard, but at some point start fading away, because you just said you got to do it tonight, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the school district can do that part.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that don't let us keep you up till you know
right.
10 o'clock in the morning before we let you go to go do it. So I have faith in you. You heard all these ideas. Pick the ones that make sense. You know what cutting edge is. And there's actually no action needed by us, as I noticed on the agenda, correct?
That's right.
That's right. That's right. So you're not going to hear me again on this item.
Brainstorming was perfect. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So good luck. I have great faith in you.
Thank you.
Moving forward. Good job.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Renee. You know this city more really than just you're from here. And so you know how to touch the hearts of our community as you have. And that's why you're our director over at Recreation Services. So we continue to thank you and have faith, and you always get it right. So if there's anything you need, we're all here for you.
Great. No, thank you all. And we look forward to tomorrow, whatever that looks like.
I look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. That's it with item number 3. And that concludes this special city council meeting. I thought it was highly productive. I want to thank our city manager and everybody that coordinated for this early start. I think it's really been beneficial to us all. And it wasn't my idea, so I do want to give all kudos to Steve and our team. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and adjourn here before we go to closed session. Let me check in with our city attorney, Christopher Diaz, real quick. Chris, you got anything for us?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make sure the council knows which link to go to next. There was an email from me yesterday, which has the Zoom link for the 6 p.m. So just go to that link. We will open up the regular meeting and then proceed with closed session, and certain people will jump off that Zoom. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll join the last Zoom that you should have, which is the regular council meeting.
Can you send that to me, like so that way, because all the other ones kind of went down, and you know, I get all these other emails and it gets lost.
You resend us the email.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll resend my email to you just now. I'll do that now.
Okay. And
thank you.
And are we going to come back though to this session so I can just close off the mic and the filming and then come back to this one?
No, there's a separate Zoom link for 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
And you send us that too.
You can.
Yes. Send us both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.